Hey, what's going on? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Ruslan. I am a hip hop artist, creative entrepreneur with kingsdreament.com. This channel exists to encourage, empower, inspire you guys to live out God's dream for your life. And so that tends to cover a variety of different areas and everything from music and purpose and marketing, business, financial literacy to excuse me, today what we're going to be talking about, which is anxiety, depression, mental illness, all that kind of stuff. And so it's a weird day for me. I am contemplating on if I should go to the funeral of a friend from high school who recently took his own life. I don't know if I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go, but I don't know if I'm going to go. And then it's also an interesting week in that last week was Suicide Prevention Week, and on National Suicide Prevention Day, a pretty notable pastor from Southern California who I'm acquaintances with, we've followed each other on Twitter. On I believe the night before National Suicide Prevention Day, he took his own life. Suicide is at a rise right now. In the first time of history, Americans are experiencing a lifespan decrease. And it's a very wild time that we're living in terms of just mental illness and mental health and all these different things that people are going through and why people are going through it. And I'll start off by just saying this. Listen, I am not an expert by any means. I am not someone that is very, aware of all the ins and outs of all the different disorders and all the different mental illnesses that people are dealing with. I am just a dude who's felt a real degree of anxiety and depression in his life. I've gone to therapy and counseling and group therapy, and I've done my very best to address these things in my life. And I'm going to share some things. I'm going to kind of take a different twist on them, if you will, in this conversation. And I think it's a very important conversation. And I think we need to be having the conversation in a solution-based manner, meaning that we shouldn't just sit here and dwell on our mental illnesses or our mental health struggles and just sit and talk about how depressed we are without there being some type of solution. I understand a lot of the music is that. I understand that's very popular in culture to be depressed. It's almost a marketing tactic, and it's kind of whack to me that's a thing. But I'm not here to judge anybody's heart, anybody's motives. I'm just going to talk about my own interactions with this and my own struggles with this. And I think it's important for us just to have a wide spectrum and a holistic approach to solutions. So before we get into that, first, let's just break down what anxiety is from the top. So I looked it up. And, just doing my Googles, right? Intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations, fast heart rate, rapid breathing, sweating, and feeling tired may occur. Common causes of the symptom. Anxiety can be normal in stressful situations, such as public speaking or taking a test. Anxiety is only an indicator of underlying disease when feelings become excessive, all-consuming, and interfere with daily life. So anxiety can be normal in stressful situations. So I will say that I'm somebody that's dealt with anxiety in a very normal, stressful type situation. I'll give you guys my experience with it. Shout out to everybody in the live stream. This video is live. If you're watching this live, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, all that kind of good stuff. So anxiety can be normal in stressful situations. So when I was about to have my first son, I didn't feel very adequate. I didn't feel very prepared. I wasn't really close to my dad, and I felt a huge flush of anxiety, of depression, of feeling like I'm inadequate, feeling like I'm unprepared. That was a normal stressful situation, a normal stressful life. Birth comes with pain, practically in a physical sense for the mom, and then for the environment that you're raising a child in. So I experienced a very heavy degree of anxiety. Take it a step further, take it a step deeper. It wasn't just that I was about to have it wasn't just that I was about to have a baby. It was because there were some things in my own life and in my own heart that I was incongruent with. I was incongruent with my conscience. I was incongruent with my purpose. I was working a job I shouldn't have been working. I was in some relationships I shouldn't have been in. I was in some business dealings I shouldn't have been in. So there was a degree of incongruence. So not only am I about to have a baby, but I'm incongruent in some different parts of my life. I'm inconsistent with the values that I'm portraying, that I say I'm portraying, and what I'm actually living out. So for my case, in my situation, I'm speaking not as some expert. Shout out to Shayna Fox. She's a psychologist. She's in the chat. I appreciate you being here. I would love your insight on some of this stuff. I'm speaking from my situation. My situation was that anxiety was normal. Depression was normal because I was incongruent and because it was a new season. So I got a brother, really close friend of mine. He's about to have a kid. He's feeling some degree of anxiety. He's feeling some degree of depression. He's anxious about what the future in this next season is going to bring in. That is normal. I got another brother of mine, really close friend, who has had some health issues. He's going through some stuff from his health. He's anxious about the future. He's anxious about a potential disease coming back. He doesn't know. He's uncertain. That's a normal degree of anxiety, right? That's a normal degree of anxiety. And I think for me, I had some trauma in my life, right? I was molested as a kid. My dad wasn't in the picture. Emotional abuse. That is also a byproduct of feeling anxiety. Can be a byproduct of the trauma. I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, meaning that normal PTSD is from one traumatic event. Complex PTSD is kind of rooted in your childhood, and it's an excessive amount of like neglect. So I had experienced a level of anxiety from that, and I went to therapy for it. And I had this epiphany. And this isn't to offend anybody, but I talked about this on my Instagram story. I was driving, me and my son went to pick up a package in downtown Oceanside, and the package wasn't there, so we had to go down to Carlsbad, North Carlsbad. And we made it a little man time. We went to a spot called the Goods Donut Shop. If you're ever in Carlsbad, California, go to the Goods Donut Shop if you want a treat. They got some amazing donuts. We're going there. We're hanging out. We're having man time. And on the way back, driving back into Oceanside, I was in South Oceanside driving in. There was this sign, and the sign said therapy, big old bold letters, therapy. And then underneath it, it said fitness center, therapy, fitness center. And I thought about my own journey with mental health and how I was going to therapy. And then as I became more active, as my days became less of me sitting down and thinking, then I started to feel better. I started playing basketball 2 or 3 times a week. I started working out, right? And all of a sudden, my symptoms of anxiety, of the thoughts that are dominating my head, that's what I found a lot about in therapy, was that it's a lot of your thinking triggers your feelings. And so there's only a couple primal emotions that we feel, and then there's a bunch of secondary emotions. And anxiety, shame, guilt, those are secondary emotions rooted in something else. And so I started going and being more active, and I noticed that like I felt way more balanced emotionally. I felt way more stable. I felt way more happy. I don't know how else to say it. And as I was looking up this definition of anxiety, the thing right underneath it, common causes of anxiety, right underneath it, says self-treatment. What is this? The very first thing it says here, physical activity, a healthy diet, regular sleep, relaxation, exercises. Right? Physical activity, healthy diet, regular sleep, relaxation, exercises. And I was like, man, there's actually something to this. That it's not just a theory. It's not that I'm like, yo, I'm anxious and then like, I don't really feel like I need to go back to therapy. I wonder why I feel so much better. Oh, I started playing basketball 3 times a week. That is my therapy. Cheap form of therapy, mind you. That if you're going to see a therapist once a week, which I think you should go see a therapist if you need to see a therapist, okay? But if you're going to see a therapist once a week, that could cost you anywhere from $100 to $150. You can have a gym membership for your whole family. I think I just got quoted at LA Fitness for a whole family membership, $45 a month. You could play basketball, you could be active, all these different things. And something else I noticed is that I don't really know a ton of people who are physically fit. I don't mean skinny, not the same thing. I mean fit. I mean they're eating well, they're sleeping well, and they're active, that are dealing with heavy mental illness issues. You know, I don't really see that correlation a whole lot. I'm sure it happens, but I think that's more of the minority in these situations. And so I think for me, physical activity, healthy eating, regular sleep. There's a podcast by Sean Model called The Model Health Show, and he wrote a book about sleep, and he said sleep is more important than our diet and our exercise combined, that the way you sleep. And so I got a little app that tracks my sleep. I've been waking up early, almost a year. I've been waking up between 5:30 a.m. at the very earliest to 6:30 a.m. And sleep makes a big difference. I was watching a show with my wife. I don't know if you guys seen this show. It's a new game show on Netflix. It's called Awake. You guys seen that show? And the big premise is like, keep people awake for 24 hours straight, which is horrible. I don't know why they would do this in a show. I could see this eventually getting backlash. And they're like, keep people awake for 24 hours straight, and then make them do a bunch of like kind of regular tasks, like count quarters, like real basic rudimentary things. And they're like bombing, big time bombing. Why? Because sleep is so important. And so now I'm seeing a generation of young people who have horrible sleep, like I did when I was young, who are eating trash, bad processed junk food, just eating on the go all the time. And they're not physically active. They're sitting down all day. And just you know, from a spiritual sense, from a historical sense, anthropology, humans were not designed to sit all day. We weren't designed to be sitting in cubicles, never getting up, right? This is not the way we were built. And so now we have a generation of young people being raised up. They're sitting down, they're not active, they're not eating well, and they're not sleeping well. And then we wonder why. We wonder why we're seeing an epidemic in mental health issues. We wonder why suicide is on the rise. We wonder why all these things are happening. And I don't think it's just that people have, humans' brain chemistry is changing. I think this is way more environmental. My man J.I. Soul said that Fortnite. That's a fact. Cats be staying up late playing Fortnite, yada, yada, right? And so Shane Fox, our psychologist in the group chat, said your body produces more endorphins in a faster period of time when you're weightlifting than cardio. Boom. Thanks. See, look, come on now. We got the illest community on YouTube right here. She breaking it down in the fact that strength training, lifting heavy weights, compound exercises, there's only about 3 or 4 you need to know how to do. There's the squat, there's the bench press, there's the deadlift, and the pull-up. Those 4 exercises that your body is actually producing endorphins. There's a chemical thing going on in your body. My brother Angel's been coming to the gym with me. I think it's his 11th day. You can follow him on Twitter. I retweet his stuff all the time. You should be following me on Twitter anyway. But he said, yo, the best thing about going to the gym with you, bro, is that I sleep so much better, is that the endorphins released, the chemicals released, the natural high that you get from strength training is helping him sleep better. Guess what? You sleep better, you're going to feel better. If you feel better, you're going to make better nutritional decisions. If you make better nutritional decisions, you're going to lose weight. You're going to feel better about your body. This stuff is all connected. It's all holistic. And so we're compartmentalizing and we're saying, oh, mental health is over here. We're saying, oh, depression is over here. When we're forgetting the big elephant in the room is that we're living lives unlike any human civilization has in the history of humanity. We're sitting down, we're not active, we're not in community, we're not sleeping regularly, and then we wonder why suicide is on a rise. And then we wonder why all these things are happening. And so listen, at the end of the day, all of this starts with your ability to believe that you can Make these little changes. That you can get up in the morning and take your butt to the gym. That you can feel better about your body. That you can eat better. It's a bunch of little things, but they're hard, right? It's hard. It's hard. If you've never strength trained, where do you start? If you've never eaten healthy, where do you start? If you've never had a normal sleep cycle, like myself, up until about a year ago, I never had a regular sleeping schedule, and I've had one for the past year. Life-changing. Where do you start? You start with the belief in yourself. You start with believing that you can do these things, right? There's a quote by Henry Ford. He said, there's a man that believes he can, and there's a man that believes he can't. Both are correct. Both are correct. So my question to you guys is, where does your belief come from? Where's your belief coming from? Because I don't know about you, but when I wasn't physically active, when I wasn't eating good, when I wasn't sleeping good, it's very, very difficult for someone to give me all this information and then be like, yeah, you just gotta exercise, sleep, eat better, and you'll be good. You won't feel anxious no more. That has to come with the belief in your brain that you are actually able and capable of making these changes. That you're actually worth it to have a great life, that you matter enough to make healthy changes in your life so that you could feel better, so that you can contain whatever depression and anxiety that you're facing, so that you can be you can live God's dream for your life, that you can live the King of Kings dream for your life. It starts with a belief. Where does your belief come from? Where does your belief come from? A lot of people in the comments section, shout out to all you guys. We're talking about meditation. We're talking about prayer. We're talking about affirmations, verbal affirmations. For me, it's verbal affirmations. I wake up every morning. I say a couple things out loud. I could do all things through Christ. I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I say that out loud. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? I say all things are possible with God. I say these verbal affirmations. I have everything that I need right now. I have what I need right now. And I say these positive affirmations. I listen to gospel music, which puts me in a different state, emotionally and in a spiritual state. And so I can give you guys all the practical stuff, and I'm sure I will. I'm sure we'll do more videos, and I'll talk about fitness and health and all that kind of stuff, because I'm really, in case you couldn't tell, I'm really passionate about this stuff. I'm really passionate, and I'm also more passionate about me feeling good. I want to feel good. I'm also not I also don't want to see any more friends commit suicide, right? I don't want to see any more friends lose that fight. I don't want to see any of the people that support me and support this channel lose that fight. And so maybe some of what I'm saying is preventative. Maybe it's preventative maintenance for you guys, right? I think it's important for us to take this holistic approach, but it starts with faith, and it starts with the belief in yourself that you can do it. And I don't know where you're going to get that belief from. Right? I get it from God. I get it from Jesus. I get it from God seeing me was worthy enough to come and die for me so that I could have a relationship and I could experience eternity with him, and I could experience eternity in heaven. But more than that, I want to experience a piece of heaven on earth, and I want to live that life, right? I know it's a joke, like you're living your best life, right? But I'm about it. Like, I'm really about it. And so speaking to yourself out loud, believing yourself, and then taking those small steps with physical activity, with diet, with checking your nutrition, regular sleep, relaxing, resting, all those different things, a support group, right? Sometimes it's just a safe people that you can talk to. So I'll end you guys with this like little parable, if you will. There's two people, right? There's two people out there, when they both need to go out into the world, and they need to chop down some wood to have a fire for their family, to keep their family warm at night, right? And one guy goes out and he spends 5 hours. Whoa, he's chopping down this big tall tree. Whoa, he's chopping it down. Bam. He's muscular. He's way more bigger than I am. Whoa, he's chopping down this tree. Right, it takes him 5 hours. He chops down the tree, puts the firewood. Boom, his family's warm for the night. Another guy spends an hour sharpening his axe, sharpening his blade. As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens another man. Sharpening his blade, sharpening his blade, sharpening his blade, sharpening his blade. Boom. goes back, takes an hour. He spends an hour sharpening his blade, and guess what? He only spent 2 hours chopping down the tree. That's also going to feed his. That's also going to keep his family warm. One guy spent 5 hours. One guy spent 3 hours or 2 hours, right? But he was preventative. He stopped. He slowed down. He spent time on on getting his axe sharp. And so a lot of us need to slow down. Need to reevaluate. How do you feel? Where's your mental health at? Are you healthy in your brain? It's one of our biggest organs, right? How is your mental health doing? Do you need to slow down and sharpen your axe? Do you need to sharpen your mind? Do you need to care better for your body? Do you need to care better for your spirit? Do you need to eat better? Do you need to go to sleep earlier? Do you need to wake up earlier? What small baby steps do you need to take to sharpen your axe so you don't have to work twice as hard to get the same results? That when I'm on it, when I'm solid, when I'm at the gym, when I'm not when I'm not wasting time, when I'm playing basketball, when I'm eating well, I make better decisions. I feel better. I'm more pleasant to be around. I'm less moody. It just holistically applies to me, man. So take this into account, man. The cheapest therapy is always going to be taking better care of yourself. And if you have an actual anxiety disorder, if you have a mental illness, seek help. Go to therapy. Sit down with a psychologist. If you're doing all these things and then you're like, man, I still feel anxious, I still feel depressed, I still don't feel right. If you address all these different holistic approaches that we're talking about, and something still is off chemically, then at that point, sit down with a therapist, sit down with a professional, and work through these things. But far often we're so quick to medicate, we're so quick to label somebody as something, and we aren't really looking at them as a whole person and what are they going through. And so those of you guys that are dealing with mental illness, I'm going to put the number for the suicide prevention line in the description. If you are struggling with suicide, definitely call this number. I know in a conversation like this, there's a percentage of you guys that are going to be dealing with it. And so I'll put that in the description of this video. And so, man, thank you guys so much for watching this. We got another interview that's going to drop later today on this same channel. Hello. And shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, keeping the lights on. We have a lot more content for you guys. The full interview, I'm about to drop a whole interview on Patreon, and then there's going to be another one that drops at 3. I'm kind of exploring with this algorithm. So appreciate you guys watching. Shout out to everybody watching live. Thank you guys. Like this video, comment below, sign up for Patreon. Y'all know what to do.